we really appreciate your willingness to receive this report and receive a briefing on the work of this commission. The task force has started way before my time under Carolyn Graham, but they have were diligently working and prepared an extensive report. They have actually some of the recommendations have been started. There's much yet to go, but I wanted them to receive the recognition they deserve for the work they've done, as well as for them to share with you what their findings and recommendations are.
Very good. All right, well, we're happy to have them. Are we going to have introductions?
And Ann Darvey is the task force chair. Maybe you can introduce those around the table, Mayor, and then Ann will make the presentation.
Sure. My name is Ann Darvey. I'm a planner with the Richmond Regional Planning District Commission and have the honor and opportunity to co-chair this task force. Do you want to?
Yeah, we can let everybody introduce themselves.
Sure. Danny Evelyn, Deputy Director, City Health Department.
Deputy Head of Social Services and Human Services Portfolio, and I was the staff lead for the task force.
Alicia Zatkoff, Sustainability Manager.
John Blau, City Council, First District.
Stacy Lux, I'm the founding chair of Slow Food RBA.
Victoria Campbell, Community Garden Coordinator, Parks and Rec.
Susie Miles Lilly from Farm to Family. Also, my husband Mark Lilly is unable to be here today.
Patty Parks, I'm with the Richmond Public Library.
Dominic Barrett, I'm the Director of the United Methodist Urban Ministries of Richmond and Shalom Farms.
Great. Thank you. And again, thank you. This is exciting for us to be able to talk about this work that we've done and talk about how we can move forward with it. I am a representative, or we are representatives of about 30 people, city employees from various departments, nonprofits, and food-related businesses around the city. Choices for Richmond residents to eat healthy food. First of all, just as a background, what is food policy? What is a food policy task force exactly? In a nutshell, food policy is any government policy that affects the availability, the production, or the distribution of food. And when we're talking about local, city-wide food policy, we're really talking about just things in the city. We're trying to narrow it down from federal policy like the Farm Bill, for example. Food policy councils have been, over the past 4 decades, becoming more and more common across the globe, but across the U.S. There are a number of topics that a food policy council would cover depending on their jurisdiction, who's involved, and their geographical area. For the food policy task force, the most important thing was to talk about nutrition and public health, culture and community surrounding food, and also food access is really the most important thing when we're talking about food in Richmond. Richmond has 40,020 approximately food insecure residents. That's just about 20% of the city that doesn't know where their next meal is coming from and doesn't have consistent, affordable access to fresh and healthy food, which, as I'll go into elucidate, but as I'm sure you understand, is a very important part of a quality life, and that's an important part of making sure that our city affords safe food access to all of our residents. These are some statistics about the state and about the city. Poverty is one of the strongest indicators of food insecurity. If you don't have enough money to buy food, and if you don't have enough money for the transportation to access that food, your chances of having food-related diseases, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, all of these raise significantly. Across the U.S., 1 in 3 adults and 1 in 3 children are obese, and in Virginia, 1 in 3 children are obese. That's actually slightly exacerbated in the city itself. All of these food-related diseases disproportionately affect minorities, which also is a big problem in Richmond. Again, single-parent households. Children in single-parent households are disproportionately affected by food-related diseases. All of these are very related to some of the issues that we face in bringing Richmond up to where it can be as a city. And we believe as a task force that addressing these food access issues, we will be able to move Richmond forward as a whole. This is one of the maps that is included in the report. Part of what we did was database mapping to understand the problem in Richmond. And what this is, this is cheesy, but can you raise your hand if you've heard of a food desert? Everybody, okay, I don't have to explain it. The idea is that not everyone has geographic access to healthy food. And this is a map that we did about Richmond City and who has access to healthy food and who doesn't. These are food deserts by neighborhood. Food deserts technically are a census tract definition. That's the national definition. What we did is overlay neighborhoods so that we understand it instinctually as Richmonders a little bit better. And this next map shows the exacerbated problem. A food desert is 20% of people in poverty that's one of the definitions, 20% of people in poverty in the tracts, and then more than 500 people living more than 1 mile away from a grocery store. We have tracts and then neighborhoods, as you see in this maps, in Richmond that have residents, 50 or 60% of the residents in the tract and then in the neighborhood that are living more than 1 mile from a food desert. And this, once again, is exacerbated. This map is showing the GRTC, is not picking on GRTC, transit routes in the city, showing how residents could access grocery stores, how far away these people are from grocery stores, and then you start to basically see the geographic analysis of food access issues in the city. Once again, people trying to access healthy food, grocery stores by transit. A lot of people don't own a car. Grocery stores are not easily accessible by bus. There are transfers, you have to wait at stops. Bringing bags of groceries on a bus is often a problem, and a taxi is inaccessibly priced. So in 2011, we've been working on this since 2011, and the mayor formed a charge to form this food policy task force to advise the administration on food policy, to make recommendations to improve access, to start to address these problems, and to review the data, which part of what you just saw in the maps are part of that analysis. There's a report which we'll hand out shortly. And then the report that I'm going to hand out is the plan that we were charged to draft to include recommendations to improve food access, including land use, addressing economic development, and health policy. And the idea is to remove these barriers that limit our residents' access to safe and healthy foods. The task force was organized and was divided into 7 subgroups. And the charge for the subgroups was to come up with 5 recommendations each that would address that realm. Food policy, when you really get into it, is an extremely diverse, broad, and complicated issue. So dividing into the subgroups, enterprise development, which is the idea that people would be able to start food-based businesses and make money and support themselves in also improving food access. Food security is the idea that that's food access that we've been talking about. Education and awareness. A lot of people who are not eating the healthy food that they could be eating, it's really an issue of education. It's paying attention to the issues. Health and nutrition, school and community gardens. Quality of school food was one group, and then the community assessment, which the maps that I showed you was another group. We did not make recommendations, we just created the assessment. We all came up, the 6 groups, each came up with 5 recommendations. That was 30. There was a lot of overlap, and we actually had staff and a wonderful intern from PDH that went through very carefully and eliminated redundancies. And we came up with 17 recommendations that the task force felt comfortable with, and these were presented at a community forum. There was also an online survey for people who were not able to attend the community forum. And the top 5 recommendations, both from the task force during discussions and voting on recommendations, combined with the voting at the community forum, there was a presentation with clickers.
Right.
And that we had 90 clickers. There probably were about 120 people at the community forum. There's a very large showing of interest. And so the top 5 recommendations, the top one is to hire a food policy coordinator. And the idea behind hiring a food policy coordinator is that it's not just money in the budget that's needed. It's someone is needed to push these ideas through, to coordinate with the various efforts within the city, within nonprofits, within businesses that are working on these issues, to coordinate it and to try to leverage the small resources that are available now to move these ideas forward. The second recommendation to come out of all of this prioritization was to create a local food hub or a community kitchen. And that's really the idea of having one place, a physical place that represents our food community, where people can come and learn to cook, possibly learn to preserve their own food, learn budget classes. That's an incredibly important part of eating healthily, being able to afford that once a week grocery trip throughout the month. And then the third one, revised city ordinances governing the raising of chickens. This was really astounding public support on this one, and it has actually already been passed by City Council. So that's a win that we actually can't take credit for, but we're very happy about that. And the fourth one is to increase nutrition education in schools, and then also the fifth one to increase the use of fresh and local food in schools. So those are the top 5. I'm going to hand out these reports, which will show all 17 in very great detail, including budget cost estimates, precedents, examples, probably more information than you want, but we also are happy to talk further about each recommendation. In terms of, sorry, I've already told you all this. These are the prioritizations too. As you can see, they've been divided in this chart into short-term, mid-term, and long-term. The first priority, once again, is to hire a food policy coordinator. And then the chickens law, which is done, increasing nutrition education in schools. The food hub is more of a long-term. We believe that to garner support, to create a plan, to find funding would be a longer-term project. And then also in the short term, zoning laws to facilitate urban agriculture, expanding use of SNAP benefits at farmers markets. And I won't read them all because I want each one of you to look in your report and really look at them when they come out. And then the next steps, we want to publish the final report when consensus is garnered around that. Putting it on the website, it's already been printed out for this group. And then announcing or presenting this concept to City Council. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if this has happened or not.
It did last year.
Mayor declared it last year. Okay, I believe that has already happened. And then identifying 2 or 3 short-term recommendations that could be implemented easily, and hire a food policy coordinator to implement the recommendations. So, this is a very brief overview, and I'm happy to answer questions. I'm sure other task force members are very happy to answer questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Ann, and maybe we can do a Q&A after my very brief remarks, but I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate the hard work that the committee, the task force has put into this effort, and I'm very happy to receive this report today, and really just want to congratulate all of you and thank all of you for the hard work. I know that it's been a tedious task, but it's a necessary task. One of the major priorities of my administration has been the mitigation of poverty. The numbers are extremely familiar to all of us, the 25% of people who live below the poverty level, and that does not account for the people who are near poor or about to become poor. And when I came into office, I didn't realize that after having been in Richmond for a lot of years. But nobody had determined that this was something that we should attack or work on or try to change. And so we decided that we were really going to try to work on that. And so what you have done really helps us inch the ball forward, because this is a very difficult task that's going to require a lot of work on behalf of a lot of people in order to turn a big ship around. It didn't happen overnight. It's not going to change overnight. But when you look at those who are living in poverty and see the deficiencies in terms of food and the availability of food and the food deserts, we recognize that one way to begin having better outcomes of people's health and better outcomes of people's lives is to change this whole food policy conversation. And so we really appreciate this work, because I think that it's very important work. And so we have done many things in addition to this during the administration. We have this commission, and we have the Mayor's Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Trails Commission, the Breastfeeding Commission, which coincidentally will be coming in right after you guys leave to give their report. And then our Let's Move initiative, trying to get people more active in their lifestyles. And so we are trying to look at this from a multifaceted approach. And so, Ann, I want to thank you for leading the effort and for providing leadership. And as I heard you talk, I could sense your passion. As a matter of fact, everybody around this table has a lot of passion, because when you look at the chickens and yards initiative, there was a lot of passion behind that. And John, was the vote 9-0? I'm sure it was. Yeah. I don't know if anybody wanted to get in front of that train. So we're really happy about that. But we want to thank not just Ann, all of the members of the task force who have, and as you saw some of the slides there, you saw how large the group was that met, and we really want to let them know that we really appreciate the countless hours that you've spent to bring this report here today. And we have made some progress. We've made some progress. The changing the code requirement for backyard chickens and movement toward getting the food policy coordinator, and John Beliles, the councilman from the 1st District, is here today, and he helped us to move the ball forward with that in getting a memorandum of understanding with, is it BCA?
PDC.
PDC, all right, to have a part-time person in this position. And so that's not what we're aiming for, but it's a baby step. At least it means that we're making movement. So John, we want to thank you for doing that. And then the work that you all have done in terms of support of community gardens, and we're proud of the shopping shuttle that we put in place. There are going to be some refinements in that, but we're really happy that we're getting people to better food choices, even if it means we have to take them there. And so it's my pleasure to receive this report today, and to thank you again for all that you're doing. I met with some grocers from the community, and I don't know, Ann, how I can transfer this information to you. Some grocers who have corner stores and so forth, and got to find a way to get this task force connected with those grocers so that we can kind of get them in the loop. This particular group is not in the loop, and so we need to get them in the loop. But once again, thank you so much for the report, and we will at this time entertain any questions or discussions that you might have, and I'm sure that Ann can answer all the questions that I can. Yeah. Yes.
I have one.
Yes.
I noticed your IBM Smarter Cities, that we won a grant from
Yes.
them. What I was wondering was, would it be possible, it was sort of a social, I looked up the term that they used.
Right.
And I'm assuming that it's giving areas monies to start new businesses. Is that how that works, to improve the economic status?
What was the term? Social
enterprise.
Social enterprise. And I don't think that it's a grant. It's finding issues like this where people can apply entrepreneurial solutions to problems that we have in the community.
Well, I have been thinking about urban gardens and There's an interest, well, when you start a food hub, small gardens could sell their vegetables
Right.
too.
That's exactly
So that's an idea.
That is.
Micro grants to people that just start, gardens and
Right.
sell produce.
Absolutely. That's exactly what that is. Anybody else? All right, well, there wouldn't be many questions in this group because you all already have the information. So we would need other people who don't have the information, who haven't spent all the time that you've spent trying to delve into this subject to ask you questions so that you can answer them.
May I
Yes.
ask a
Yeah.
question, Mayor,
Sure.
just in terms of moving forward and connecting this group with the work of your anti-poverty initiative and the commission is, have you all perhaps thought about some interconnections, and I know you've got some working groups with that, and
Yeah,
perhaps
Don.
putting Ann or somebody from this group
Yeah.
onto one of those working groups to make that connection?
Yeah, the commission now has appointed advisory groups.
Mhm.
And so Don, if you want to talk about that, talk about how we can integrate this work.
Yeah, so the Anti-Poverty Commission has 4 task forces working on implementation strategies, housing, education, economic development, and transportation.
Right.
And a lot of the recommendations out of the report deal with food deserts and sort of fit in with housing issues and accessibility issues. So as they work to implement the recommendations, I'd love to get in touch with you and opt in the right subcommittee working with that group.
And we're just getting the anti-poverty task force, breakout task force in place. In fact, the mayor's going to be announcing that structure next week. And it's from there that we will keep building on the work of that task force with Don Martin
Yeah.
and our primary contact.
And it might be that we can make room for someone from this commission to be on.
That'd be great if you could consider that possibility.
Be more than happy to. All right, everybody got your big book? All right, thank you, Ann. Thank you so much. John, you want to say something?
Well, I just commend the task force for their work. This city's crazy about food and it's crazy about local. And this is great work because what can come from developing a system like this is not only mitigation of food deserts and addressing poverty issues, but also it's an economic development solution that can create jobs. I mean, one of my new heroes is Will Allen, who has done this in Milwaukee and cashed in his 401k to create an urban garden. And now they in 3 acres they produce 10,000 some pounds of food a year, and that's something that we've got empty lots and we've got areas that we can do that in the city. And it's beyond community garden, what a lot of people are familiar with. It is real urban agriculture that is an economic development driver, creates a sense of neighborhood pride. And I think those things can come from this task force, and it really fits in well with the Anti-Poverty Commission and economic development issues, and especially in some of the more challenged areas. And if, for the time being, if GRTC can't get them to the food, then we can take the food to the and I think this is a great first step.
And thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We